Hello and welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Juliet.
And I'm Andrew. Hello.
Today we're going to be reviewing our November design challenge, which was Nov-Embermage, design a red-mana-dork. And it had 2 bonus points. Those were Nov-Embermage, its mana value plus power plus toughness equal 9, and No-Embermage, give it a leaves the battlefield or dies trigger. Our next submission is from Auxiliary Otter. It's Stonepath Ridgewatcher. It's 2 and a red for a 2/2 creature human scout at uncommon. It has tap. You may search your library for a mountain card. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. When this creature dies, put the cards exiled with it into their owner's hand.
Interesting.
Wow.
This is a unique take on a mana dork. It's not.
Mhm.
You could push your nose up and say that's not a mana dork because it doesn't have the text of tap, add 1 red. But I really like, in the same way that but people still put Steve in their commander decks. Ramp
Mhm.
is ramp regardless of how we get there, right?
Mhm.
I like this idea of searching for a land and then exiling it. I wonder how letting you bring in a land untapped is always a bit scary. You
Mhm.
are limited by mountain cards, which is good, but mountain does include Volcanic Island. Mountain does include Dwarven
Dwarven
Mine,
Mine.
so you could get a dwarf out of
Mhm.
this on turn. We're playing this on turn 3. That means turn 4 we could have 4 mountains that comes in untapped and gives me a dwarf.
Mhm.
There is a little bit that is scary, and I might be missing other famous mountains that are a bit scary. It's a thing that leaves me a little hesitant, but I do really like this design. I think this is an interesting idea.
Yeah, I think the flavor and the art also kind of tie this idea of, sitting on one cliff and then being able to look out at the other mountains
Hmm.
around you and kind of like, okay, I'm maybe scouting them out the first time, and so I don't have an established presence. I don't have a let's see, deeper than mana pools are mana links? Is that the
Sure, yeah,
the old head
we're not
terminology?
we're not attuned to that mountain yet. It's just we're using it real quick.
Yeah. And then later, though, we can do a more one per turn review and get those mountains. Like, they aren't gone forever. This thins your deck of mountains. There's so much to like about this. My only qualm is I think shuffling every turn is more than I like on a card, but that's
Hmm.
hard to, like, take exception to this card because that does happen these days in Magic all the time, and if you're playing in a primarily digital, client or format, whether that's,
Hmm.
Arena or Moto or anything, I think this is neat, and this is such a fun original idea for you have access to an extra red mana when you tap this, and that mana is around for this turn.
Hmm. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. I have an opinion that I think is almost certainly wrong.
Oh, you think we should shuffle every step of every phase of every turn?
Well, aside from that one, I know that we've had our fights about that in the past. Uh, no, I want all those cards to go to the battlefield when it dies. Am I saying that we've invented a new scape shift combo piece? Maybe. I kind of like the idea of flavorfully saying, when this dies, we get access to the places that this card has seen. Maybe that's not fully flavorful, but I do kind of like we've spent our turns charging up mountains. Being able to deploy them, I feel like feels interesting. Now, maybe we say we put them on, put them into play tapped. Don't instantly say they're all coming into play, but or maybe put a card exiled with it into play tapped or something.
Sure. Mhm.
Because I do think that we are making a card that does kind of inherently the scariest thing that can happen to a mono red player is that their hand is full of mountains. And then we're getting to a point where when this dies, we go, oh no, my hand is now full of mountains. There's things you can do with that, but
Ho
it is different than
yeah.
just drawing them all off the top. But I don't know. It'd probably be too strong to put them all into play, but I drawing a bunch of lands on turn 7 doesn't always feel like a great thing to happen.
Hopefully, on turn 7, though, if you do, if your hand is then now full of, like, 3 or 4 mountains, you've run out of like, you haven't been drawing, like, lands, or you have a land drop available
Sure.
depending on when it dies, like, before you discard, so you can at least put one on. If we wanted to really kind of juice this into risk and reward territory and make this like a rare or a mythic, I think when it dies, exile the lands that you, like, currently own, and
And
then put
replace
any of
them?
the lands exiled with this
Ooh.
with the mountains,
Oh, now we're
which
cooking with mono red. Yeah, I like this.
you either have to have other ways of untapping this or have it be, like, turn 10 or 12 or whatever for that to actually increase the number of lands you have on the battlefield, but, like, I don't know, there's something there.
Counterpoint. When
Mhm.
this dies, exile. Well, okay, you'd have to do one of those like Living Dead things where you have to swap around zones a
Uh-huh,
bunch. But essentially,
uh-huh,
then with exile all non-Valakut lands you control, and then put all your. I want this thing to be a one shot a Valakut scape shift. I want to just.
mm. Mm. When this creature dies, you may exile any number of permanents. For each permanent, or you may sacrifice, whatever. For each permanent you sacrifice this way, you may put a card exiled with Stonepath Ridgewatcher, like, onto the battlefield. So you can turn your tokens or lands or creatures into
Yes, yes,
mountains
yes,
when
yes.
when this dies.
I think we've landed on it. I think we found it.
Just in case you really want either your Valakut or your Baron Glory deck to to really get there. Thank
For
you
one brief
for
shining
that
moment, the cheese will stand alone.
that delightful submission, auxiliary honor.
All right. Up next, we have Cord, Siren of Vakgal, who sends in Fading Emberwell, 2 and a red for a creature that is an Elder Elemental, which I think is a new combo. I like that. They are a 3/3 with Progenitor for a red, which I believe is a new custom ability. You
Mhm,
may cast this
mhm.
card for red. If you do, it enters as a 1/1. And it has tap to add red. Spend this mana only to cast spells that cost exactly red to cast.
Hmm,
Okay. So Progenitor lets you put this into play as a 1/1. I assume that I'm making a presumption. Because this is an Elder
mhm.
Elemental, my gut says, and because that second ability is kind of disjointed, I'm assuming that there are a lot of other cards with Progenitor in the set, and that the Progenitor cost might always be red or always be a single pip.
Single color.
So
Yeah,
that
that makes
Fading
sense.
Emberwell kind of has the secret text of tap to cast a Progenitor card.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes so much sense, and I was not I got there the first 2 steps, but that 3rd step there makes a ton of sense. I'm thinking just in, your hand is full of weird
Lightning
little
bolts.
single red mana. Yeah, lightning bolts or, like, exile 1 card, like like the mini impulses, the mini
Sure, sure,
treasure
sure.
makers,
Yeah.
sacrifice a land and get a marginal,
hmm
thing for single mana. Yeah, yeah.
I like this. I feel like what's the phrasing? I feel like the tap ability to only cast spells that cost exactly red is flavorful, but the limitation feels weird. And it feels like a limitation that you would put on a stronger card than this.
Mhm,
This is
mhm.
there, it's listed as a common, so we're not necessarily looking for like a mythic rare levels of power. But this does feel like it doesn't feel like you're getting a payoff when you're casting a Progenitor card or any other spell that costs red for this. It kind of just feels like, oh, neat. I got to do a thing. That the card
I can
says.
cast a progenitor and something on curve
Right.
instead of just something on curve.
Right.
Yeah.
I do kind of wonder if maybe saying tap add red. Maybe if you spend this mana to cast a spell that costs exactly red, add red. This ability triggers only once per
Oh,
turn.
sure.
If that's how
So
that
something in that space,
text would
yeah.
work, but something where like if you're casting a progenitor, you get to do it again, or that might be too strong for common, but something along the lines of like we're getting that mana, but I don't know.
Mhm.
I feel like this card can be juiced a little bit, but I like where its head's
I
at. I
think
guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think the space I might look at would be something like, tap add red and tap add 1 mana of any color, spend this only to cast spells that cost exactly that have that cost exactly 1 mana to cast or
Hmm.
something like that. There's some, kind of delighted halfling sort of like, "Oh, here's the normal one, and then here's the extra bonus." I wonder if just having a 1 mana 1/1 that would tap for red that you can upgrade into a 3 mana 3/3 that taps for red,
Hmm.
like, that might be slightly, like, ahead of curve. I think we typically
Sure.
see 2 mana, red mana dorks, and so the 1 or 3 sort of aspect to things, but I was a little surprised to see that this wasn't, add mana equal to this creature's power or something like that out of the kind of change in size between the 1/1 and the
Hmm.
3/3.
It's a card that I like the idea behind, but it has me asking, where's the upside? Where do I and maybe I don't see it because it's out of context and there could be more context within a set itself. Or maybe the upside is you get to play this in your Elder Elemental deck where the other cards are where the upside comes into play. This one just has some utility to support them. Um, but I like where this card's head's at. I just want it to do more. I like elementals. Elementals are probably my favorite creature type in Magic, and so I every time I see an elemental, that I wish I could stoke this into a bigger flame.
It does, thankfully, worst case scenario, you have a 3 mana 3/3 in red, which I'm old enough to still be like, "Wowie zowie, what a deal.
Right? Say
What a
yeah.
bargain."
I am I am constantly. A I designed a pirate themed magic set that had some treasure synergies, and the entire time I was like, okay, I feel like this is like a healthy use of treasures. And then immediately after, Wizards of the Coast printed Battle for Baldur's Gate or the other uh
Mhm.
uh D&D set
Adventure Forgotten
that
Realms.
I think
Yeah, one of
Adventures in
those, yeah.
Forgotten Realms, which used a lot of treasure cards that were like similar to cards I'd designed, but pushed way harder. And I was like, oh, I could have gone a lot
Mhm.
harder, I guess. My bad. I'm with you in thinking that, like, wow, a 2/1 for 2. What a strong attacker on turn 2. Nobody look at Robber of the Rich
Absolutely.
or whatever his name is.
I do definitely think your point about this being like, "Hey, this is a 3 mana 3/3, which gets us to our 9," and the progenitor ability is both, like, a flexible thing, but also hints at the fact that there could be other cards with the progenitor and probably that cost as we said.
Mhm,
I think that's a in, like, the field of, like, encryption and compression studies, right? You can come up with ways to submit bigger messages into a tiny
mhm,
package, and I feel like Magic spoilers are sometimes in this style, like, "Hey, here's this card. By seeing this card, you're going to learn about lots of other things in this set that aren't actually on the card
mhm,
here, but you can, like, extrapolate outwards from that, and for that purpose, I think this card is, like, a really fun teaser for, like, "Okay, wait. Okay, yeah, you maybe they are all progenitor, and maybe they're all a single mana and et
mhm.
cetera." Like, that sort of assumption is pretty cool.
And also to this, I think that we are also kind of ignoring the fact that with an alternate cost like this, you can do something like Progenitor Fading Emberwell and then flicker it to make it a 3/3 on turn 2. Like there are
Mhm,
things that you can do around that kind of stuff too that I think we're leaving aside, but that's external to this
yeah,
card itself, but I think that's neat.
mhm. Our next submission is from Bradley Rose. It's Practiced Pyromancer. It's red, red, red for a 3/3 creature human sorcerer at uncommon. It has tap. This creature deals 1 damage to any target. And whenever this creature becomes tapped or dies, add a red mana. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Flavor text. There's little difference between temperament and temperature for a fire mage.
Hmm. So this card's pretty scary with intruder alarm.
Maybe. If it created a token, maybe. I I do like the fact that so you can attack and have it tap, and so you're adding a red,
Hmm.
and then, oh, maybe it's blocked and dies, and then you add another red, and just because those are in combat, they aren't gone. You can, use them in your second main phase, but not forever.
Adding dealing a damage to something and adding a mana. It's not a lot of damage and it's not a lot of mana, but that is a pretty scary precedent to set. But it's also on a card that costs 3 red mana, so there is a limiter to cost in that. This is a card that scares me.
Sure. Its ability to, like, if you can okay, it's not Banishing Knack. I was trying to remember if there was a, like, spend 1 mana, untap card from Eventide or something where you could just keep tapping this and getting the mana and then dealing the damage and going back and forth.
So there are things like Retraction Helix. Well, no, not Retraction. There is I know that there's a card that it is
We're both thinking of cards that combo with the other untapped
I think we
cards.
are. Yeah, where it's cards that like I know that there are either whether it's an enchantment or it's a sorcery that says like this creature gets this ability. I know that it's possible to give a creature the ability to pay 1 mana, untap target creature. I know that that is untap this creature.
Oh,
And so if there's a
huh.
way to cleanly mana launder your red mana into blue mana, Practice Pyromancer can go infinite there.
Sure,
I don't know
sure.
that
Kinda
there's
like
a
a
way
Pseudo
to
Alchemist style.
cleanly do that, but I might be overlooking something. Um,
Yeah.
but
I think that hesitation, though, is the sort of hesitation that we feel as designers looking at how, like, efficiently this could infinite with the right other pieces,
mhm.
and maybe we say, "Hey, you're allowed to do that at red, red, red," in the way of, like, "Well, we don't really need to ban Kiki Jiki," like, you just your opponents can work around the fact that you have to have red, 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 and not be doing other things with your mana before you get to your kind of infinite 2-card combo.
Oh, actually, speaking of Kiki Jiki, you take Practice Pyromancer, you slap Splinter Twin onto Practice Pyromancer,
Oh, right, there we go.
you tap Practice Pyromancer to make a combo, you get a red mana, you tap another one, you get a red mana, you now have infinite red mana. Uh,
Wait, but they would still need to be able to, like, untap because the copies don't get that. I think we
oh
might go
no,
down
you're
a
right.
rabbit
You're
hole.
right. They don't untap themselves. You're right.
But if you can loop this somehow, we're
There's so okay.
it
Sorry,
seems
sorry,
so
sorry.
ready.
You play Splinter Twin and then you play Intruder Alarm, and then you tap.
You can get infinite mana and infinite damage to any target, which everyone knows is better than just infinite damage to any target.
Yes.
We are so practiced at this pyromancy that we're like, "Wait a minute, isn't there a this has the resemblance of some of the other
I
cards?"
do think we had young pyromancer and then we had seasoned pyromancer. I think this is over
Mhm.
seasoned pyromancer where you went to the
Mm, mhm.
restaurant, you were like, I'll take the 5 spicy with like the big red pepper next to it. I do think that this one might be a little too spicy for me. But I do like it. I do think it's interesting in a way that like sets my brain on fire, which is good to see in a card that costs 3 red.
I also feel like as we talk about the fact that Magic design has accelerated in some ways, in just the amount of cards that are printed. It seems in some ways like, power elements that this card not that long ago, we would go, "Well, wait a minute." And nowadays we'd go, "Well, I mean, is it gonna be stronger than Vivi?" His
Right.
uh, hey, they made sure that the second ability isn't an activated ability, it's a triggered ability, so you can't cauldron it onto something else, like, it's fine. Red, 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 what are you
Yeah.
this isn't stronger than Chain Whirler or something like that.
Yeah. I always feel like almost like a guest in someone else's house when I'm designing Magic cards where, like,
Mhm,
Wizards of the
mhm.
Coast is allowed to break their own stuff, but I would feel bad if I broke their stuff. Like, I feel like I have to, like, take my shoes off when I design Magic cards and walk in the house, you know? Where it's
100%,
like, "Oh, I'm not
100%,
here to,
yeah.
like." I can't design a card that would need a change to, like, the comprehensive rules, where I'm just like, "Oh, I guess I can't push that, of course." But I do think that you're right
Mhm.
that, like, they push that all the time. Maybe this is just fine.
I think we see that especially with kind of outside the game elements
Mhm.
that you kinda like, "Okay, am I going to introduce something like the ring tempts you?"
I
Probably not, but Wizards, like, will and does.
The moment I have to learn what the ring tempts you does is the moment that I officially sell my card collection. I To this day, I have never actually looked up what it actually means when a card says that, and I'm okay not having to know it.
It does stuff with Skulk and eventually other things, I
Mhm.
think. Anyways, this is we got the 9, we've got a dies trigger, so this is hitting both of our bonus points.
Mhm.
Does this count as a mana dork? I think so. You tap it and it adds a red,
It does, it
right?
does. I think I'm only saying this because we've chatted before and they're a host on the podcast, so I
Mhm.
don't feel mean saying this. I do feel like the 3 mana 3/3 with these abilities, it does kind of feel like you looked at the assignment, you turned in the assignment. I'm stroking my beard a little bit. I do feel like you coulda gone a little bit something else, Brad.
Listener at home, you're allowed to turn in the assignment. You're allowed to submit cards that require new comprehensive rules. This, thankfully, is where you don't have to, like, worry about tanking a, Fortune 500 company because your
Mhm.
card ruined multiple constructed formats and made standard unplayable.
Right. On this one, I look at the rubric and I go, "Brad did hit the A column here, but I'm gonna give Brad a B because I know you can do better."
Sure, sure. I think we've all been there as teachers. Anyways, thanks for the submission,
Thank
Brad.
you, Brad. I want to move on to Spice Duchess, who's got a card here called Snarkle. I really like Snarkle. It comes with ASCII art. It is a 1 red and a red for a 4/2 creature, Viashino Druid, and it has tap. This deals 1 damage to each opponent. And whenever this becomes tapped or dies, add a hold on. Whenever this becomes tapped or dies, add a red. Unspent mana gained during this way can't be lost during combat. I think this card is
10 out of
perfect.
10.
No
No
notes.
notes. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on. I think that Brad, what you needed to do was add ASCII art of a Viashino Druid. I think that that's what
Yeah.
needed to push this up to an A. I respect this more on a
I will
4/2 than
say
I did on a 3/3.
a novel new creature type to Magic, the Viashino. Andrew, do you know this, that Viashino aren't in Magic anymore? They're all lizards now.
No. I
Uh-huh.
literally was about
Sparkletto
to say
Octopi and Viashino are lizards.
I was about to say a Viashino Druid, and I stopped myself from saying one of my favorite creature types. No. Ah.
Yeah.
This is just so that they can make the
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles not have to deal with now I'm gonna be grumpy.
Well,
Do you have
okay,
an
turtles and lizards are
No,
different,
I
though.
know, but I bet they fight lizards.
Oh, sure. I bet so. 2, we'd have to ask Riley 'cause
They probably know.
but genuinely, this is fun. I do think a 4/2 is a nice stat line on a creature with a dice trigger because it has that kind of aggressive body
Mhm,
that makes you want to kinda get it into a scrum in different ways,
mhm.
and it's just easier for it to die, and I don't know, if my creature has a dice trigger, I kinda want it to die, maybe at least 1 game in a match, just so I can It's fun to see the abilities work, right? That's
Yeah.
the the thing we like to see.
Well, and you know what? I don't think we touched on this when we were looking at Brad's design. There is the case of you attack with it, it gains a red, and then it dies in combat and you get a red. So it's gotten you 2 mana
Mhm.
out of the deal. I didn't really think about that math, but I do like that. I agree with you. I like this more on a 4/2 than I did on a 3/3, and I missed in reading this deals 1 damage. I kind of got distracted by how similar it was to the previous submission, that I missed that this was only to each opponent rather than to any target, which I do think is a strong limiter for a card like this. But I do like this. I think that this is a I like this card, and I struggle why I like this one so much more than the last one, and I do think it might just be the ASCII art. So
Another fun thing, because this is, the intricacies of Discord, this is actually a forwarded message from outside the thread. It's possible that this was posted before Brad's and then added to this thread afterwards. We
ah
have no way of knowing.
okay.
Or they could have been posted simultaneously in 2 different places and then collated here. That's just a fun kind of
You know,
coincidence of this particular
I'm
card.
seeing that this was originally submitted 11/13/2025. Brad's was
Wow.
11/16. Brad, you're down to a C plus. Get it together.
You're both good designers. We appreciate both your cards. Great job. Our next submission is from M-Dubs, that's Peter. We've got Rebellious Fire Mage. It's 1 and a red for a creature, lizard fox wizard. It's a 2/1 for 1 and a red. I love creature lizard fox wizard. I'm already excited for what comes next.
Mhm.
It has tap, add red, and rise. If an opponent's third turn has ended, this creature has the following abilities: tap, add red. So you can either tap for a single red or double if an opponent's third turn has ended. So usually if it's your
Interesting.
fourth turn or third turn, if you are on the draw, and then
Yeah.
it could be your third turn. That's really cool.
It plays a little weird in Commander or multiplayer formats where the player who goes first will end their third turn, and then at their on their next player's turn, there's technically a phase when the first player does not have rise, the second player, and then everyone else does have rise.
Oh, yeah.
It is, but it's only 1 turn of weirdness, but it is in the most popular format that we do all of our designing for these days. So that is worth flagging, I think. But it is an interesting ability. I do like it as a way of saying this creature matters in the end game as opposed to just being early.
I think for me to really worry about that for Rise, we would need to have, like, battling legendary creatures that kinda, like, lock each other out of the
Oh,
game.
sure.
It's like whoever's Rise triggers first, like, can, like, lock down all the other
Sure,
ones,
sure, sure.
which might exist. I and it that is good to flag because you can stumble into those designs without it, being apparent on the card.
Mhm.
But here, yeah, I I'm so interested in what Fox is doing in this creature
Yeah,
type.
lizard fox wizard is a it makes it feel like one of those double creatures from like Bloomborough.
Sure.
But I
Mhm,
also the name doesn't quite fit that because it makes it seem like it's just one entity. So
mhm,
but if it was rebellious fire mages, I could imagine a lizard wizard and a fox wizard hanging out together, chilling, and that is a cool image. I like that.
mhm. Or this is, Joe Fox's family is kind of wild.
Hmm.
Like, he's got, like, the little kid who's his brother and, like, his aunt and all the different things. So this is just one of the other members of the FOX Fox family.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a You've Got Mail reference. If you wanna hear me talk more about You've Got Mail, check out this winter's season of IOB Pod for Castmas. It's on the brain. FOX. Yeah.
No, it's pretty simple. Add a red, or if we're late in the game, add 2 red on a 2/1 for 2.
Mhm.
I like it.
In, like, single player, in a two-player
Hmm.
format rather than a multiplayer format, I mean, turn 4 it, in general, turn 4 being able to tap to add 2 red, or honestly, the first time this untaps, if I'm on the draw
Mhm.
and then it's my 3rd turn, being able to go into 4 or 5 mana if I've got a land drop, that is spicy. Like, it doesn't have to be that late in the game for an opponent's 3rd turn to end.
Well, Rise is interesting because it feels like in the beginning of the game, it doesn't matter except for the potential of what your cards have later. On turn, 4 past, it matters, but in the way that it matters for every card. But there is a
Mhm,
weird phase on turn 3 for the player on the draw. And if you can make that turn 3 really count, then it gets the question of, does this overtake the advantage that you naturally get from playing first?
mhm.
If it doesn't,
And because
then
we've seen competitive formats trend towards, I think this has especially, been said to be a problem with Pioneer, but it's been a problem in Modern sometimes,
Mhm,
Standard sometimes, Legacy sometimes, where it's like, "Hey, if you're on the play, you win most matchups, and if you're on the the draw, you lose most
mhm,
matchups," and, like, that ends up not being fun because of, like, the coin flip stuff, and, in some ways, the pitch elementals of Modern Horizons 2 were, like, a design to try to help deal with that, same with the, like, Force of Negation style, ways to make that, like, drawing an extra card can be equal in tempo because you have pitch spells,
mhm.
but pitch spells also kind of break formats in games
Yeah.
oftentimes, and so I'd be really curious to see if you could make enough good Rise designs to make the player on the draw also have, like, a competitive edge, and occasionally a reason to choose to play on the draw, but also just, like, even the the edge
Mhm.
that the player on the play usually gets.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's neat.
Really interesting keyword, fun card.
Mhm. Thank you for the submission. Let's move on to Kieran, who has submitted a dual-faced card. We have Suspicious Mountain, which is a 1 and a red for a creature who is a golem boss. An 0/3 with Defender. It taps to add red, and when it dies, return it to the battlefield transformed, where it comes back as a Stone Talus creature golem boss that is a 2/2. And I assume this is a Legend of Zelda reference due to the, I guess, Hyrule
Yeah.
Compendium. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, this is a, it might be in other games, but I know it's in Breath of the Wild
Okay.
that you'll be going a place and then, "Oh, no, it's suddenly a cool big rock elemental guy."
I like this as a red defender, an 0/3 that adds red. Are red defenders typically so similar to like blue defenders? I haven't done the research. I
I mean, red used to be, like, the defender color. I mean, obviously, there were lots of walls, but, like, back in the day, red really had the most walls.
Mhm.
I don't think I have any problem with an O3 defender in red.
Mhm.
I think that's not an issue, power and toughness for it being like, "Oh, yeah, it's high toughness, low power in red." Typically, that you would expect that it would either be then granting something haste, like,
Right.
battle ramparts,
Or
I
like a
think,
catapult tap to deal. Yeah.
dealing
Okay.
some sort of damage. Yeah, Vein Sentinel.
Okay. Yeah, I this feels like a card that slots into, I don't know if dual face cards matter in a set or something like that, but a card that's like
Mhm,
an early blocker that you then get to flip into a boss later on. This feels like the common saga creatures compared to like the, if you look at a set like Final Fantasy, there are some saga creatures that are the summons that are gross double-sided cards at rare, but then you get a couple that are the smaller ones at rare or at common and uncommon that kind of fill in those gaps and lead it to becoming an archetype and let it increasing the as fan in the set. I think this set's pretty simply as a defender that you get to tap and add for red, which is something that you've definitely seen in green, haven't really seen as much in red for this specific ability. But then when you flip it over, it turns into a pretty small creature, which I think is perfectly fine because the flip ability is not super hard to hit, and you actually get
mhm.
some power on your side when you flip over. So I think it's a simple card, but I like it. I think it's simple, but it gets the job done. I think it's a clever way of by having 2 power toughness, it makes it a lot easier to get to 9 without making your creature a weird 1/6 for 2 or something like that.
Sure, yeah. This, of course, being a 2 mana card with 0/3 on its front and 2/2 on its back, and 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 is 9. I think if I would make one suggestion to this card, it would be to move one of the points from the front to the back and make it like an O2 on the front that's like a 3-2 on the back.
Sure.
Something about that is, well, if your opponent was able to deal with an O2 before, they might also be able to deal with a 3-2, which is fine because you got 2 kind of lives, you got 2 combats out of the creature or something like that. But also, if your creature is turning into a vanilla 2/2, then you might as well not have a backside to it. You might as well just, like, hey, when it dies, manifest it or, do some
Sure.
that, like, featureless 2/2s are kind of super generic because they literally are like what a card just with a flat back means,
My
and I think I want something more out of the fact that I need to, like, unsleeve the card and flip it over and, like, resleeve it or something like that, and I think the players will feel a little disappointed. "Oh, I was able to flip it, and I just got a 2/2."
my only caveat there would be that I think that I assume that by adding a creature type of boss, I mean,
Mhm.
a 2/2 is not a very interesting boss, but I assume that there is some kind of other boss synergy in the set, or
Oh, synergy. Yeah.
and so I feel like but then it's like, well, do you manifest into a boss? That doesn't feel right.
Sure.
But also,
Sure.
I agree with you, a 2/2 as a boss doesn't really feel all that strong. I do think that going from an O2 to a 3/2 might be interesting. You wake up and you say, "Now I'm more powerful." I
Mhm.
do like I like your idea of lowering the toughness on the front half, partially I mean, because it has a dies trigger. I feel like a creature with 2 toughness is, like, built to die. A creature with 3 toughness is built to tank a little bit, and so I
Mhm.
think that building it so that it's a little easier to die and then get a little stronger on the back is a solid way to do that, while still staying within the 9 framework. If you're not worried about staying within the 9 framework, maybe juice up the stats a little bit more on the back, I don't know, but
Sure.
yeah, I
Kieran pointed out saying, this card basically made itself based on the criteria, which, yeah, that makes sense. It has a dice trigger, it has the 9, and it's a red-mana-dork. It does fit all of those things. They say, "In my Zelda set, bosses are transforming DFCs that transform on death to represent multiple phases." Which, yeah,
okay.
I can see you defeat the first phase, and then you have the second phase there.
Oh, I'm sure that this causes a rules headache.
Mhm.
I kinda want this to be a mountain.
Ooh, mountain creature golem boss. I mean, it's
I guess
got
that makes has to be a
for
creature, or it has to
mountainy
be
stuff.
I guess that would make it have to be a
You can't
land.
cast it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say it's a land as long as it's on the hey, while it's on the
This is a
battlefield, it's a
land,
mountain.
sure, yeah, because then you get or it's a mountain.
A land mountain in addition to its other types, and then it gains the the tap add red as part of
Yeah.
that ability.
I don't know. That'd be something that feels like the kinda thing that I would tinker around with for a couple days and then go, "This isn't worth it."
Yeah. Listen, that is a pivotal stage in many designs,
Mhm.
and this hits all of the submissions out of the park. Thanks for the design, Kieran.
Mhm.
Our next submission is from Crafted Lava is True. It's Rainbow Dancer. For 3 and a red, it's a creature elf bard with tap, add 2 mana in a random combination of colors. Activate this only as an instant. And it's a 4/1. So it's a 4/1 for 4. That certainly is 9. Creature elf bard. And what mana will you get? Nobody knows. Probably some combination of the 5 colors
Mhm.
and not something outside of those, unless you're in an acorn set,
Yeah.
in which case I believe every color that shows up in people's eyes plus pink.
Is so activate only as an instant. That means activate only in response to something else?
That it doesn't work like a mana ability,
Oh,
if
so
that
okay,
makes
so
sense.
you can't well,
Oh, this is specifically because of the fact that you can undo mana producing abilities that are strictly mana abilities that don't target or anything. And so by making it not codified as strictly quote a mana ability, you can't undo it. Otherwise, you could tap this and find out what your random production was then go, "Actually, I'm gonna undo that, untap it, and then tap it again until you got exactly the 2 mana that you wanted." So I think this is like a a line that doesn't look like it is necessary, but is necessary
It's
because
load
of
bearing.
rules nonsense. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I This is interesting. The randomness of red does feel like it lends itself. You're getting 2 mana out of it, but they're in a random combination, which can matter, but it's tricky because if you're in a mono red deck, presumably you're able to use your other mountains that you have, and then this just becomes
Mhm,
2 generic mana with extra steps. And I don't that sound sorry,
mhm.
let me jump back. That sounds more negative than I mean it to. It essentially reads as add 2 generic mana that sometimes is red. If you have more colors than that, then adding different mana to your mana pool that you might not have had access to before does lead to some interesting things that you could fire off. But you would need to be in a very specific environment to make that fit or really be relevant.
Mhm.
Sometimes you get lucky, you roll to add 2 random mana, it becomes 2 blue, and then you get to say great counterspell. But I'm trying to think,
There's
the
something
math on
about
that
this
is
that
tough.
feels very did you Andrew, do you familiar with Chandelar?
The PC game,
Yeah.
I know of it, I've never played it myself.
It had a number of cards that I believe are called astral cards these
Okay.
days that are, like, digital only cards basically because they have stuff like, "Pay 2 generic mana, tap this, add a random effect," and it could just be like a thing happens from the pool of randomized. This feels in some ways like that or like Felwar Stone, kind of some older cards that here you're gonna get mana based on colors that your opponent has or colors that your other lands can't tap for or things like that.
Okay.
That there's something old-fashioned or, like, antique about this it feels like to me, like, "Oh, yeah, this is" maybe not an Ice Age card, but, like, "Oh, yeah, there's this card in Visions, it's a 6 mana red card that taps to add 2 random mana," or an artifact that you sacrifice a land for, and you add 2 mana in random combination.
It's interesting to me
Yeah.
that your pull is that old school because my thought on this card is that it feels more like something that you would see in an alchemy set in Arena where because this is
Mhm.
add 2 mana of any random combination of colors is a thing that in Arena you click on and it goes, "Cool, red, blue." Uh,
Uh-huh.
but in paper you go, "Great, I'm gonna tap this. Does anyone have a 5-sided dice? No. Okay. I'm gonna roll a 6-sided dice. If I roll a 6, I'm gonna re-roll. I'm gonna roll. Okay, this one's a 2, which means it's red, blue. Okay, blue, and then this one's a 5, so red, blue, black, red, green. Okay, so I've got. Sorry, what did I say for the blue, green?
Uh-huh.
And then
Uh-huh.
so there's that confusion in how you design that, or not confusion, but there's that
Mhm.
struggle in how you
Mhm.
play with it. But also, I know that there are cards in Alchemy. I remember there were some commanders that had like I think with the Dungeons and Dragons Baldur's Gate set where they were like, here's different versions of these characters depending on if you
Sure.
is this Karlach red black or red blue or red white, where they got a different
Mhm.
set of secondary abilities. I might be misremembering the set or something, but
Oh, yeah. No, I think at the very least that it also appeared in that
okay.
set. Yeah, I think it's fun that both of our thoughts are are I mean, alchemy and Chandelier have a lot in common in those ways, and I think in general, Arena makes a lot of sense for this sort of thing. I also think Jumpstart maybe as a, like, funky yeah, it's mostly 2 generic mana, but it might give you the mana of your other cards in the Jumpstart pack.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
feel like it's odd because you want this card to do random. You don't want it to be colors that you choose, but you don't want it to just say like add 2 mana of colors that your lands could produce or of your commander's color identity. Because I feel like that takes away from what you want this what as a designer what you want this card to be. And so I feel like this
Mhm.
is the kind of card that is tricky to nail down. It's a
Yeah.
funky one.
It's a thinker and a talker at the very least, and this is an interesting card, and hey, we see, 4 plus 4 plus 1,
Yep,
that is
that is
9,
9.
and, it certainly made us think about mana priority and, in-person randomizations.
This card asks a lot of questions. I'm not sure I have all the answers, but it certainly asks them.
Exactly.
We're going to move on. Red Bay wrote in and submitted Grave Fire Elemental. That is 2 and a red, creature elemental. It's a 3/3, and it has you tap 2 generic and it to add an amount of red equal to this creature's power. Sacrifice this creature at the beginning of the next end step. It also has Undying. So when it dies, if it had no 1/1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. So the first time you activate it, you tap 2 mana and so you're going up 1 mana, like your typical mana dork, presuming you haven't changed anything. And then after you sacrifice it, it comes back as a 4/4. So when you activate it the second time, you get to add an extra mana to that. You go up 2 mana.
Yeah.
It's neat.
Yeah. I kind of expected to see more, like, add mana equal to this creature's power from this challenge because we had kind of power or toughness or mana value, like, tied into that, and so we would be seeing fewer, like, 1 mana and or, like, 2 drops and that sort of
Mhm.
thing, and I think this is a fun way of doing that without it being just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna stack my, like, my 3/3, +3/+3 or on it, and then I'm gonna target it with all the bumps and the become immenses and,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera. That because of it sacrificing, because of the undying, like, all of the parts of the card, like, work together in fun ways.
Yeah, it is a card that is adding more mana than you're spending to do stuff with it, but in a way that feels hard to break. And I think that that's a good place to be. It feels hard to break, but you can also do stuff to make it feel really cool because there is room to say, "Great, I'm going to cast Become Immense." Or it comes back with Undying, and then I'm going to remove the 1/1 counters. I can keep getting this extra mana. Or like you can do, I mean, you can do stuff. You can tap it when it has the counter on it from Undying, get that extra mana off of it, and then say, "Great, I'm going to remove the counter before it would die." That way, when I sacrifice it, it comes back with a counter again. This is a neat card
Mhm.
that lets you do fun plays with it. While also, like, you gain some advantages, but not in a way that feels backbreaking or unfair to your opponent. And I like cards that let you find little tricks that you can play in fun ways.
Speaking of little tricks, I wanna pair this card with 2 different cards. I wanna play this card with Hardened Scales,
Uh huh.
the single green mana enchantment that, when a creature enters with a +1 adds another one. I think this coming in as a 3/3, and then you sack it as part of the, mana ability's ultimate consequence. Comes back as a 5/5 and everything. The other one is I wanna give this ability to other creatures with Agatha's Soul
Uh
Cauldron.
huh.
But I think it's really interesting that, yeah, this is a 3 mana 3/3 that can then become a 3 mana 4/4 haste, but you are giving up the attack
Yeah.
as part of giving this, like, you're investing the mana and the creature's power in getting more mana out of it, but you're giving up that attack, and I think that that is a space that I would be interested to see more from Red as kind of maybe a wider differential with green, where it's like, yeah, part of the opportunity cost of this card is like, yes, it's a better attacker than other mana dorks, and you can also get mana, so you can choose whatever you actually need at the time.
Mhm.
That's not that much of a drawback because like both like you have 2 modes that are good,
Yeah.
but they kind of act as opportunity costs towards one another, and, I think that's a space to make cards that are fun more frequently without being broken when they do work.
Yeah, I agree. Tapping a green mana dork for mana usually feels free because what was I gonna do? A swing with a 1/3 anyways? Like, I think
Mhm.
I like that idea of playing into the opportunity cost. That's kind of Red's whole thing, right? Of impulse draw and things like that. There's an opportunity cost to getting the bonuses you get.
Mhm. And, like, treasure, right?
Yeah.
Hey, mana today is not mana tomorrow.
Uh huh.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And, it's got a it does have a dice trigger because Undying is a type of dice trigger, so, hey,
Yep. Got a dice
out of the
trigger.
park with both.
Adds up to 9. 3, 6, 9. Sock it to it one more time.
Mhm.
That's the undying part.
Our next submission is from Caitlin. That's I believe, new submitter. Pew, pew,
Hey. Boo boo boo
pew,
boo
new
boo.
submitter. Our submission here is Aki Stormcaller. It's 3 and a red for a 2/1 creature goblin wizard at rare. As tap, sacrifice a land, add red for each spell that's been cast this turn.
Ooh.
So we are calling that storm.
Mhm.
Oh, I could just sacrifice a land for nothing if I really feel like just sacrificing
Yeah.
lands for nothing. I got an empty hand, I just feel like sacrificing a land. I'm role playing as an Aki, our fun Kamigawa, goblins, but alternatively, I have, even just 2 spells. Oh, I've cast 3 spells. Oh, yeah, I've cast 3 spells. I'm gonna tap and add 3. I've cast 4, maybe some of them are on tap. I cast a an act of treason targeting my own creature just to untap it and give it haste, and, oh, then I'm gonna tap and sacrifice another land. Oh, those lands are already tapped. Listen, the game's ending this turn one way or another, and ideally, it's with a lot of this red mana and a spell pointed at your
Uh-huh.
face.
I love a card that feels really bad to own when the opponent casts Emrakul the Promised End on you. I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
like this design. I think that this is I want this is a 4-drop. I want it to be a 2-drop. I want this to be
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
want this to be the kind of card that, like, you look at and you go, "Oh, is this gonna get banned in Legacy?" Like, I doubt that would be the case,
Yeah.
but, like, I like this card. It feels pretty unassuming on its own, and like you're saying, in a regular game of Magic, you're making decisions on, "I've cast 2 spells. Is it worth it to give up a land to add 2 more mana to cast my other to cast my other Lightning Strike or my" hey, if I cast a what is it, Pitiless Plunder off of I guess it wouldn't be just red mana, but
Mhm.
do I cast the thing and say, "Great, I'm sacrificing it, but I'm getting back some treasures too," so it's like I never spent a land at all in the red player point of view. I like this idea. And then, hey, if you cast a lot of spells, have you been doing the thing? Go off. Feel free to give
Mhm.
up a measly little mountain, and now you get 5 mana back for it. Cast your Dragon Storm
So
King.
we
Go
we
off.
we we mentioned Legacy earlier, of course, the classic Orcish Lumberjack for single
Yeah.
red mana, 1/1, tap, sacrifice a forest, add, 3 mana in any combination of red or green. I think I agree that I want this to be like, something like a 2-drop. It certainly feels like a Kamigawa, like, original Kamigawa card being yeah, it's a 4 mana 2/1 that, its ability might come into play or not. Like, that does seem like costing of that era, but it is quite exciting. You know what it works really well with is it Fire Whiskey Friend? Firewater Friend. Uh our blitz goblins that we're
Yeah.
like, "We're not sure what we're doing, but we're just, like, chaining them into each other," is chain your, like, Birch
Yeah.
Tree
Yeah,
Emissaries,
okay, yeah.
any creatures that just, like, kind of replace themselves with mana,
Uh-huh.
and then you go, "Oh, and then I'm gonna sacrifice one of my only" like, I have 2 mountains here. I'm gonna sacrifice one of them
Mhm.
and add 5 mana? Oh, and then I'm gonna like, you can build your storm in a lot of fun ways.
Yeah, Manamorphose, Manamorphose, Manamorphose. Now it's all blue counterspell. We got there. No, I really
Cryptic command.
I really love this. I'd crank this power. Maybe knock off 3 of the cost. Make this a 1 drop. And it's 2025. It can be a 3/1.
We are so this is mana cost 4, 3 in a red, and then power 2, toughness 1. That is unfortunately 7.
You're
And so I'm like, if we're already there, bring us just a little bit further to
I
the number
I
9.
agree with you. I see what you're saying. We should make this a 1 drop. This is going to be a 7/1. I think that we nailed the design. When it and then it's gonna have Undying. When it dies, go ahead and bring it back to fulfill
And
all of our
it
rules.
it earth bends the land, so
Yeah,
the land
perfect. When it dies, Earthbend. Yeah, and then the next one sacrifices the Earthbent land. That's gonna come back in. It's gonna re-trigger my Valakut. Mwah. Oh, we're doing good things here. This is a good podcast.
Only in alchemy, though. We're gonna keep it the alchemy version of this card, just like it's a single mana,
Yeah.
and impossible to beat. Uh, Great. Thank you for the wonderful submission. Caitlin, you mentioned that you think you're definitely playing with fire with this design, and we
I
agree,
will be.
but we are goblins, like, dancing around the fire, like, wanting it and, like, chanting for it to be be bigger and hotter. Yeah.
All right.
Alright.
I've got one last design here. Very handsome submitter sent in Bugbear Boilermaker. Costs 1 red and red for a creature that is a goblin artificer. It's a 3/3. I took the coward's 3/3 to make 9. So, Bugbear Boilermaker, it has haste and then tap and sacrifice Bugbear Boilermaker to add a red, and whenever this mana is used to cast an instant or sorcery, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn.
Huh.
What do you think of my card, Juliet?
Okay, so 3/3 for 3 haste. So I'm just gonna play this, and I'm just gonna attack my opponent for 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe next turn, I'm gonna go, "Well, I could attack," but I did already attack for 3. So I've, like, achievement like, I've got that check mark on the card. But I'm starting to think, "Okay, instant or sorcery. I've got the 3 mana from before. Maybe I've played another land. Maybe I haven't. Tapping for a red, and then, giving a buff. I think I want to play this with dragon fodder
Mm-hmm.
and, stuff, Hordeling
Hordling Outburst,
Outburst?
yeah.
Am I Yeah, yeah. I want instants and sorceries that make little goblins that I can be giving this buff to,
Mhm.
and I want to be doing that over like, I wanna be kinda doing that, but in a fair deck, if that makes sense. Because I wanna be like, "Yeah, I'll do Dragon Fodder on turn 2," and, like, every turn I'm just, like, casting another instant or sorcery, because I don't necessarily have a way to give haste to those
Mhm.
tokens, although I guess I could spend another instant or sorcery to do that, but, like, despite everything, this card seems very fair, if that makes sense?
That's where I was going
Like,
for. I didn't wanna make this
okay.
busted, but I thought, "Hey, you know what? Maybe we can." I wanted to do a creature that had haste that then you can attack with it. I like we were talking before about sorry, I completely lost my train of thought.
Mhm,
We were talking before about, red-mana-dorks or red cards that produce mana, but saying, "Well, I'll just get in this turn." I can attack decently well.
mhm.
I don't know. Is 3/3 for 3 with haste? Is that still good? I think it is. I don't know Magic these days. But I feel like it's in limited
That
at
can
least it'll
kill your
it'll cash
opponent
in.
by turn 10, that can kill your
Yeah.
opponent.
But also I like the idea that this late in the game you could drop this and then crack it to turn your lightning strike now comes with a very weak overrun, a trumpet blast or something like that.
Mhm.
Maybe you could jump these numbers up a little
Mhm.
bit, but I
I think these numbers are probably the safe thing in a world where, yeah, this has haste. Its floor is still really high because the hasty 3/3 for 3 and or the extra mana and the +1/+1 go wide, like, are both things that the floor is high enough that I don't know that we need to, like, raise the ceiling too much,
Mhm.
and this does feel like, "Oh, in my deck full of stuff, I can tutor up goblins, and there's specific board states where I want to tutor up this goblin compared to some of the other, like, combo finishers where this one, gives me, "Oh, I need an extra exactly red mana," or "I need an extra exactly, like, +1/+1 in order for my other creature not to die to its ability that damages," like, who knows
Mhm.
what combination of factors. There's enough, like, fun, weird little knobs on this both to adjust it if it needs it in play design, but also for, like, deck builders to say, "Oh, I want 1 Bugbear Boilermaker," or, "Oh, I want 4 Bugbear Boilermaker," depending on what they're doing. Or once they have one, they go, "Well, I'm choosing between, this 5 mana creature and this 5 mana sorcery. Well, maybe I'll choose the 5 mana sorcery because, this interaction."
Yeah, I just wanted a card that I thought was a little modal, and we can pretend it's a mana dork. It's not quite necessarily per the exact
It
ratings of a
taps and
mana.
adds a mana.
That's where I landed. It taps to add the mana, so I think it
Mhm.
counts.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, Andrew, we've got a lot of cards that we reviewed here.
Yes.
Any jump out to you?
I really like this Eki Stormcaller. I hope that's not just recency bias, but I like enabling Storm. I think that people are too scared of enabling Storm. We should do it more. I like Stonepath Ridgewalker, the one that lets us search for
Mhm.
a mountain and then puts those cards back in hand. I think that this one really stands out as an interesting take on what a mana dork can look like in red without just being tap add a red.
Mhm.
I like the focus on looking at mountains. I like the idea of we're getting the temporary mana that you get out of a mana dork, but also we're getting those to hand later in the game as which makes the card feel a bit more flavorful. One hit wonder still stands out to me as a very scary bard that I do not want to get hit by. And I think
Yeah.
treasure elemental also is one of my favorites here. I like the big treasure card. Treasure's a fun archetype to me, and I want to play like a Grixis pirate treasure deck where I think the card's Pitiless Plunder.
Sure.
But I want Pitiless Plunder if I can take a Sharpie to it and just put out the thing that says you win if you have more than 10 treasures. Just
Instead, just be like, "I have 10 power if I have 10 treasures." Like, just
the Pitiless Plunder is a different guy. There's a card I'm talking about that's like a guy
yeah.
going
Mhm.
yippee off of a crow's nest and throwing treasures everywhere. I don't want it to be a win con. I just want it to give me treasures. But I like
Yeah.
this treasure elemental in something like that.
I definitely, agree with these. The one I would add to that is, Phoenix of Paradise.
Yeah.
I think tying in Bird of Paradise into, like, a red sort of space with the Phoenix and, like, Apocryphite on a little mana dork. There's so many little parts of that, like, call back to Magic's history and, like, Magic's present in a fun way altogether in that package.
Yeah.
Well, the end of one design challenge marks the beginning of another. Our December design challenge is December the Titans. Design a creature with an enters and attacks trigger. Like
Ooh.
the Titans from Magic the Gathering.
December the Titans is so good.
We've got 2 optional bonus points this month. We got Remember the Titans. Your card features reminder text. And Titan. The card name begins with the letters SN.
Eagle-eared listeners might figure out which one of us submitted which bonus point.
And those submissions are going to be due January 2nd. So you've got a little bit of wiggle room after the busy holidays. So that's our podcast for this week. You can join our Discord with a link in the show notes. Thanks for coming on, Andrew. Anything you'd like to tell people about?
It's been really exciting to be here. As I alluded to before, I'm a part of the Moonshot Podcast Network.
You can find Andrew's games with the link in the show notes or at acsherman.itch.io and Andrew's podcasts like Mild Mannered, The Argonauts, and more on the Moonshot Podcast Network, as well as some exciting Twitch streams coming up the week leading up to Christmas on twitch.tv/Moonshot Network. And speaking of Christmas, you can today and the next 3 weeks catch the new episodes of this season of I'll Be Pod for Castmas, my literary look at Christmas pop culture show, where we'll be covering the holiday cheer of Pride and Prejudice. That's I'll Be Pod for Castmas, wherever podcasts are found. Thanks for listening, and always remember,
Set your
set your
money
money on
on fire.
fire.